Well, it's good news. I am trying something different again. And this time, on the last few days of February 2022, we have passed that special date, 22nd of the second month in the 2022nd year at, well, here in Europe we say when it's 10 o'clock in the evening we can say it's 22, and then you know 02 and all that. Yeah, numbers. Yeah, is it significant or is it not? I don't know. I'm going to talk about the topic, as you can see, living in Canada. It's in the series of living in Spain, Canada, Norway, my experiences when it comes to that. And I talked in the previous part about my experience here in Spain. I know I haven't been it's no systematic way of talking about this topic. I just, have no way of explaining it more, unless I have like a list, and I don't want to make any lists when it comes to these podcasts. Maybe I will later. I can't guarantee anything about, how things will become. And again, I am still waiting on my new cameras, so I can't see myself. I'm to film in 4K. I think I haven't cut my top of my. If not, I can always, do something about that. But well, we'll see. So, living in Canada, I did that. I went to Canada first time on the 30th of June, 1986. Well, 80s, yeah. And I moved there in around 20th of June, 1990, and I lived there until end of May 1997. And I've been back there many times later. My daughters, they live there in Montreal area, and their mother, my ex-wife, lives there, and Canada is an interesting country because it's many similarities with, well, depends where you are in Canada, but similarities with the States, many of the, at least the northern parts of the United States of America. But it's also similar things, especially in Quebec, where I live, the province of Quebec. There are these roots from France, from Europe, and the mentality are very different from the different provinces, just like it is in the United States as well, and in Norway for that matter, and here in Spain. Depends where you are in the country. And I can see how it was appealing to me to move there. I was very much in love with Miami and the Caribbean and United States. Well, actually, most of my life, because I have relatives there, several places in the States. In California is one of the places, and like second cousins and so on. And when I was in Miami in the mid 80s, when I was working on a cruise ship, that's how I ended up in Canada, by the way, because I met the mother of my daughters on the cruise ship. She was a passenger, and I was a deck boy, and I was only 18, and I thought I was going to end up in Caribbean or maybe Miami, because Miami has a special place in my heart. But at the time in the mid 80s, there was a lot of crime in Miami. There still is, I guess. I haven't been there since 1997, but it's something about it's close to Caribbean, close to travel many places, and even to South America. And we went to Mexico every week, a couple of times to Cancun and to Cozumel, and to Bahamas, and to like Nassau, Freeport, and there was a Great Stirrup Cay as a private island that NCL, the Norwegian cruise line at the time, it was called Norwegian Caribbean Lines, owns and still owns. But the cruise ships were at the time very small, except for SS Norway. It was the largest in the world at the time. I'm not gonna go into many details because I will be able to speak for hours, and that's that I'll save for later, So I wanted to move to Miami. I also wanted to move to Mexico because a friend of mine, he's from Veracruz, and I never went there, but Mexico was appealing to me. But Miami was, I guess, a place I wanted to move. But since I met the mother of my daughters, was from Montreal, Laval, the northern island. Montreal is an island, and you have Laval is another island north of Montreal next to. And this is the whole metropolitan area. They usually say it's around 3 million people live in that metropolitan area. So it is a huge city, at least compared to what I was used to from Miami or from Oslo in Norway. And it had all these American ways, all the stores, all the restaurants, chains, and the cinemas, everything is big, And at the time, 1985, 86, I got used to it by being on the cruise ship and experiencing the American way and Miami, and I also passed by New York City. But when I moved to Canada, I didn't realize quite how different it was, actually, because yes, I was used to Spanish and English in Miami, but in Montreal you have it's because Quebec is a French-speaking province. You have bilingual people everywhere, but you have a lot of just French-speaking, more or less. And I started to go to some French courses. Well, I don't know how long I was there, but I could count to 10 maybe and say, oui, non. And famous, voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir? You want to go to bed with me? And more or less that's it, not much. But the mother of my daughters, she is fluently, bilingual, and so are my daughters. And it's now the oldest one also can speak Norwegian, but it's the chalk well, it's not a shock, but the surprise of that. Yeah, I knew it was French, but I didn't know how, the whole Quebecois culture was really very a big the big part of the culture, and that was very positive. Also, it was because I compared to my experiences in Ontario, in Toronto, and Ottawa, and it's they're not as open people. And I find also that the thing is that in Montreal, people live downtown. It's not like just offices everywhere. Like I find several parts of Ottawa and Toronto, but also the mentality of talking to strangers, and if they see you are struggling with your French and you are not Anglophone, they will be even more open. I find I got a few French-speaking friends, and my best friend over there, he's a bilingual, but he's a Quebecois French-speaking, and there was so many other parts. There was also the Native Americans, the Mohawks, which is another culture. And there was the Italian village part, Chinese, Ukraine, Italian, of course, and Irish. I mean, I said it twice again, and all these other minorities that had their areas. And is the gay village, and there's this long street called Saint Catherine, which is it's the main street going through the whole downtown area from west to east. And then you have Westmount, which is mainly it's an Anglophone city, but within the city, it's a different city. It's not part of Montreal. And you had all these things on that island. It was fascinating. And another surprise was how cold it could get and how much snow you can have in Montreal in the winter. Was like, wow, it blew my mind. I have experienced a lot of snow. I have experienced cold winters in Norway, but that's compared to Montreal. Wow. I remember one time, no, it was not in at band camp, but was this winter where one day it was like, I think it was plus 10 degrees, and 24 hours later it was minus 30, like 40 degrees Celsius. It went down within 24 hours. It was like mind-blowing. I was like, wow. And some people say, well, it happens, and there's also these frozen rain, where and you can lose powers for days sometimes, and I don't think it does happen that often anymore, but it still happened not that many years ago. And you have these winter storms, these where you can have constant snowing for days, and it will be like, it's knee-high snow, new snow within a few days. And that's, you have to go out there and, snow plowing all the time, you have to shovel the snow, you have to, and then where I also, what is the name of that? Is that Quebec? garages, in the plastic thing, and that was also a new thing to me. I had never seen something like that. It's like a tent for your car, and often also outside of the garage again, so you don't need to shovel so much snow. It's genius, but it still was like, really? And some people let them up until nearly the summer before they take it down. Not that it does snow that long, but anyway, there was a lot of cultural things that when I think back on it now, I moved some 25 years ago since I moved out of there. But I've been back many times, as I said. But there's a lot of things that, for me as a young man, 18, but I was only there for a week the first time in '86. But when I moved there when I was 22 in 1990, there were so many things that I had to get used to, and I wasn't back home to Norway before 2 years later on vacation, and then 2.5 years later again, and then another 2.5 years later. So I was only back twice before I moved back to Norway within those 7 years. And I got so used to the culture, the bilingual. I started to learn more French as I was working at the school for autistic kids, from youngsters like 1.5, 2 years old up to 18, I guess, 19. And a private school where there was, at the time when I started, we were like 110, 120 staff members, and there was about 100 kids, or 90, I think, even. So it was like 1-to-1 ratio plus an administration, and it was really a fantastic school. And I worked there for about 5 years, and I had to use more and more French since it was bilingual school. But my English was, in the end of my 7 years over there, very fluent. While now, 25 years later, it isn't as, there was a time when people didn't know I was Norwegian. I still don't have very much, I think, a Norwegian accent, but I have some kind of accent that I know when I listen to myself, and I also heard from others. And there's certain words that are, but I was thinking, and that's what I do right now too. I think in English. It's the way when you are exposed and you are practicing, you're talking another language all the time. You have to get into that mood to be able to continuously talk without being able to think. And now I've got the screensaver up on my big screen here. So that's not good. I should have moved the mouse. I'm sorry about these technical things that happen sometimes. It's just that it will change the lightning annoyingly. So that's it's a bit strange when you lose a language. You don't lose it, but you don't practice it as much. So therefore, your accent become how do you say that? Back worse. Noticeable, you can notice if that the person isn't the first mother tongue, isn't, and but yeah, so all these things, and I was in the both worlds there, both the French Canadian and the Anglophone Canadian world there, because many of my friends there were Anglophones, got to know through work, but also a few of them were Francophones. And my wife at the time, she is a Francophone, and her family, so I got to know them too. And the cultural differences are also there. Maybe depends what family, of course. Their difference depend. Some are more strong into that sense of the Quebecois Francophone traditions, maybe, and there was other things that was going on when I was living there. The political issues, the politics there are, well, referendum, Quebec wanted to go out of, I think it was, 94 or whatever. They won 95, I don't remember. It's, and there was the Mohawk that fighting for their rights for their holy land. So you had the so-called Oka crisis. And I was really, that happened right away in the summer. First summer I was there, in 1990, and I had a lot of empathy with the situation for the Mohawks, that the Native Americans, they were not looked at as equals, and there was some people wanted to build a golf course on a holy land that the Mohawks have, a graveyard, as I recall it. And there was this big standoff in, I think, 99 days. And there was one policeman killed. Nobody are certain how he was shot, because there was a lot of confusions, because everyone was in I don't remember how early that happened, but it was a standoff with weapons, where they had weapons, everyone, and it was serious. And was the reservations there are Ganawage and Ganasatage, and one is on the south shore, and the other one is on the north shore, if you can call it that, and they are connected somehow, but still was, for me, that was a shock. Actually, that was a shock. I would say that was. I can't recall something similar I had ever experienced that close to where I lived ever, because this was a crisis, and it's a complicated country, Canada, as well as United States are. It's a complicated when it comes to having all different cultures and also ethnicities. Like you have French speaking, you have English speaking Anglophones, you have then Native Americans, mainly Mohawks, that are also have their language, but they are also there. You have French-speaking Mohawks and English-speaking Mohawks, and bilinguals and trilinguals. And there is a lot of trilinguals actually in Montreal area. You have also a huge Moroccan Jewish community in Montreal that came in the, I believe, 60s, 70s, 80s from Morocco, and they are trilingual and more. I mean, they speak a lot of languages, like switch like that easily between the different languages. And all this is was for me very interesting, and it still is, to be experiencing and be a part of. So I will never forget, and I still have many friends there, and I have my daughters and their mother there, and my brother also moved over there for a few years, and he also had some daughters there, but they mainly lived in Norway for most of their lives, but they also moved back to Montreal, and then the oldest daughter to my brother, she lives now in Toronto and works and studies there. So I for sure have, and will always have, a relationship in that sense of having family there and of having many friends, good friends. And of course, Facebook always helps to keep that relation going. And I love Canada. I mean, I have had a relationship with Canada since 1986, which is, wow. Well, how many years? 36 years soon now, and I'm gonna go back there. I haven't been there for many years now, but I will. Soon as it's possible, I will go back there and visit my daughters, and also check up on my friends that I haven't seen for years and years. I think it's gonna be 6 years, eh? Yeah. 2016, I was there. Also had a reunion with the private school I worked at the time, and I could sit there and talk for hours, but I believe it's past 20 minutes now. So we'll see. I didn't get to talk about all the practical things when it comes to moving to Canada, that I had to get married, because if not, I had to have, I believe, 50,000 Canadian dollars to put in a bank account or invest or something to be able to get a citizenship. And after 2 years, I was also offered to have a Canadian citizenship and passport, but I declined because at the time Norway didn't accept dual citizenship, so I had to then give up my Norwegian. Well, now 2-3 years ago, that rule changed in Norway, but at the time I had to decline the Canadian citizenship. But there was, and it took, like, I believe, I had to wait like 9 months at least to, well, maybe it was 6 months, 6-7 months before I got my green card, my working permit, my permanent to stay there. So in the beginning, in the first 6-7 months, I had to go every third month down to New York, pass the border into the United States, and go back to get a renewal of my visa for Canada. Weird stuff. Because at the time I got 6 months visa always, and I had worked in the States since I worked on the cruise ship. So it was strange times, when you had to cross the border to another country to get back in. But that's how it went. So it was interesting times, that's for sure. I had a lot of I learned a lot. It was a big experience. I loved it. So, you take care now, and see you soon.